Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's a chess program on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Star, and today's guests are professors Ken Regan.
Hi, thank you
Welcome
for having
to
me
the
on again.
show. Great, and also Dan Fleetwood. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Hi, Sasha. Hi, Ken. It's good to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we are going to discuss today the ongoing U.S. Chess Championship. It's an open section and ladies section, or actually girls section, because they're all so young, most of them, that you may call it almost like a girls' championship.
well, one of them not so young, my poor friend Arena Crush,
Yeah,
and I teed up two of her losses to show.
yeah.
Oh,
Unfortunately,
Well,
yeah.
honestly,
I know. I've seen one of those, and it was really unfortunate.
yeah. Anna Zatonsky also is not that young,
Yeah.
and she's defending. She's, I think, four times chess champion, and Irina is eight times chess
Mhm.
champions. But seems to me that the change of guards is happening right now. But let's see. Oh, that's
Yeah.
fantastic!
So you see the
Yeah.
chessboard. So Dan, is this what you're referring to?
Yes, it is. That was a really hard position for White.
Yes. So
The
White
saving
has
move was amazingly hard to see.
it was
Yeah,
amazingly hard to see. If we scroll back a little bit, she has been losing. I mean, Black has a winning attack. White doesn't have any real counterplay. But Black did make inaccuracies that are inaccuracies only because the computer is able to see ahead the resource that Arena Crush could have availed in this position. A position with active rooks, queens, and a bishop, you don't think of stalemate.
Yeah.
So what Arena played in this position was bishop g3, and it loses simply because the bishop survives. So the drawing way to play was to play
Yeah.
f6. Now,
fantastic.
yeah. Now, one point of this is that if Black captures with the rook, then White has
Queen
checkmate
e7.
because Black's rook or
Right.
and or queen will fall with check. Okay, with queen one check, winning a and merging a bishop ahead and or making a queen. But actually, the fact is, White can stop it. White can play queen f2, and the rook
Right.
cannot capture because of stalemate.
Yeah. That's just amazing.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I was actually watching live. Maybe you were too when this was on the board, and she had enough time to think of it. But there are some things you just don't think of.
Even if you know it's there, it takes a few minutes.
Yeah, to verify it.
Right.
But okay, yeah, most unfortunate. However, I do want to feature a game by the winner, sorry, the leader, not winner, the leader, um, Anna Sargsyan. So of the women's section, she has actually a full point lead after 4 rounds. So this was her um, win in the second or third round. I actually forget, but anyway, this is uh, an illustration of dynamic play that can arise. So the state queen gambit gives way to dynamic play. So Black accepted later. Okay, and then so now I forget the name for this system. I get it confused with Botvinnik system, but so
No,
Dan,
I think
maybe you
the
know
main
the
system is where White plays Bishop G5. Now this
yes, that's
one is Miran, maybe. I don't know what is this.
Yeah,
mhm.
this is I mean, this is in kind of the Queen's Gambit accepted family, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah.
So Black has a disjointed pawn structure, but has nice squares for her pieces. coming in. I'm sure a lot of this is book. I don't have the book wherewithal. This is
If it's a book, it's book that I don't know.
Okay. This is a temporary sacrifice. So now black has the 2 bishops, but white has a little bit more pressure on black's position than vice versa. So the engine likes this for white. It's a definite pull, but obviously there's a game of chess to play. And in this position, black has slightly ahead. So black has anyway, at this point, no reason to be upset with what happened in the opening. So white's. So now black
Goodness,
actually.
This is looking like coffee house chess.
Yes, winning an exchange, right. So now, and bishop g5, I will say this is the move that stamps it as coffee house. The engine wants white to either capture the bishop or play a3 first and win black's knight instead. And if white's d-pawn survives, white arguably has compensation for the exchange. But bishop g5, now with f6, I don't know why white provoked that. I guess white wanted to make black's, well, white's going to be a rook down. Wait, what's going on? All right, so black can't, there must be a reason why black can't take on g5 here.
H3, I guess. H3
and A3, yes, A3, and because black hasn't castled, queen takes c6 check, and knight coming in is a concern. Okay, so that's actually a good point, but black just castles. Now black has a perfectly good game, exchange ahead, but maybe plays a little bit too defensively. So I don't know. Queen b8 is a really better move. Sometimes the engine is hypersensitive. Then going pawn grabbing rather than sticking the knight on d5 was maybe not the best thing to do, but black is still fine. However, white has been able to get a few Tempe moves. Still good for black. So this game is going to get raucous again. But now white's d-pawn is a real danger. So black has to cover it up. So the engine says black still should not lose, but these positions are very difficult to defend. And now white is able to recover her exchange, and black's king is in danger. Okay. So at least we could breathe now, and we see that black's position is looser, but black does have a nice knight and a passed a-pawn that might be an asset. But white is, as I said, able to make black's position more loose. So here it comes. Now white is just putting pieces on squares and maybe coming in behind black's position. And so this is razor sharp, and the real element of this position is that Irina is down to 30 seconds. She is going to get 30 minutes to think at turn 40, but you have to get to turn 40. And unfortunately, she doesn't quite get to turn 40 intact. So it's very hard to know where to put the king. Okay, and your first thought might be to put it on h7, but then it turns out that rook a3 is strong for white. Anyway, she put it on g6, which is the worst square. Okay, and now white has a definite strong attack, and black may be objectively lost in this position. Or the engine is saying black maybe can hold with knight f6. But that's a very difficult move to find. It looks like it's putting a piece on a vulnerable square. So anyway, so g4 weakening. And now f4, not the right follow-up, but certainly quite reasonable. And now Anna Sargsy falls back, and Irina should have been okay, but she went for the pawn and missed the way that white can regroup, wheel her pieces around, and get back into position. So rook b6, and now, unfortunately, this is a miscalculation. Now black is actually lost. So I'm not sure
Oh, yeah.
whether Arena
Probably just overlooked that.
probably
Mm.
just overlooked that. And the other thing to notice is that the clock is accurately showing that as of this move, Arena had more time, but she evidently spent 17 minutes thinking about the G4 move and then spent almost all the rest of her time on Queen F5. And
Wow.
that left her just not enough time to defend this extremely tactical position.
Yeah.
So after this, she gave up. So nicely coordinated to maximize her potential by Sargsyan. So that's the story in the women's play. Now over in the men, I first of all have an amusing story to tell. So the leader in the tournament with 3 out of 4 at the moment is Wesley So. Long a veteran of U.S. championships since he came here from the Philippines. He has 3, and Caruana, Aronian, and Neiman, I think, have 2.5.
Right.
The Neiman and So played each other in the first round, and I'm going to be dumb and silly and say this just for effect. Okay, but in that game, the arbiter intervened to ward off Neiman benefiting from the oldest documented form of cheating at chess.
Yes.
Well, so
Yes.
yes, you recognize what I'm
I
saying.
do.
Yes. So Rui Lopez in 1561 advised to situate the board so that the sun shines in the opponent's eye. Okay. And that actually happened.
That happened.
In the game Neiman So, because they renovated the St. Louis Chess Club, and a high window with the sun at 3 or 4 o'clock local time was gleaming through and right into So's eyes. So Chris Bird stood with an umbrella, a parasol, and was able to hold it over the board and deflect the high-angled beam of light so that it didn't bother Wesley So while thinking. It is something that if chess were part of Singing in the Rain, maybe you could do a skit around.
Yeah.
Anyway, that game was amicably drawn, and Neiman is back in good graces at the club, which I guess is good to see after the episode 2 years ago that got him a 1-year ban. Anyway, we don't need to mention Neiman. Maybe we will next week if he wins some more games. But this is a very interesting game from Wesley So, again illustrating the dynamics Black can have. This is another opening that I confuse with Botvinnik's system, which Black comes out more successful for Black. Okay, but essentially the same line as we saw before. And again, White captures on b5 and Black plays knight b6. So anyway, now knight c6, though, is not a move we saw before. So Black plays, So plays this way. I'm not intending to say his name. I'm just stuttering while scrolling the moves. So this is all very logical development. Pawns are even. White has a better pawn structure. Black has the hole on d5 and is cramping White's position. Both players need to castle, but before that, Black plays f5. And so now maybe not so attractive to castle on the king side, but and in fact, So does not castle on the king side. Now, this is actually the kind of position I would dream about as Black, a coordinated attack with my fianchettoed queen bishop on g2. But if White can regroup pieces and safely get the move f3 in, then Black's attack might be biting on Granick. But it's going to take White a long time to do that. And it turns out that the way White went about that is is a little bit flawed here because we took the guard away from that square and enabled black essentially. So white's queen didn't have a good square to go. It only really could go to b1 because it wanted to keep the queens on. But that would have led to other problems for white. So we trade queens and white comes in. This is white's intent. And now thinking, well, we've got some sort of dynamic equality on the queen side, but it's actually not true because black's rooks are better than white's rooks. Okay, and so black wins a pawn, but white shouldn't panic yet. White can get some sort of activity, but this is the very interesting juncture of the game. Okay, so the interesting point here is that if black just plays a normal move, we can't play king f8 because the bishop h6 check. So then black plays to the d file. If black plays to the d file, then white does have a really nifty sacrificial attack continuation. So if king d7, then knight takes e6. King takes e6, the right order of moves. Okay, well, it's the computer's laughing at me. I was going to play rook takes d5 and try to come out ahead. Maybe that's a misjudgment. So it turns out actually that just playing this move
Really?
puts black on a indelible griddle. Okay, white's
Wow.
d4 check, winning the rook. This is just a winning attack. Okay, however, Wesley So very smartly, although already both players already fairly short on time, has calculated that this is a good exchange sacrifice. So now white does something that is generally good to do when you're an exchange ahead, exchange off the player's other rook.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it actually takes a little bit more courage for black to realize that in a position without a rook to guard swaths of the board that white's rooks, plural, could attack, is still has dynamic equality because black is able to keep a lid on white's position. So, in fact, Ray Robeson was dissuaded from winning the exchange back. So if bishop takes, winning the exchange, because if you take here, then black's b pawn really and bishop on d5 really are worth an exchange in this position. And maybe white has to worry that black's going to expand with e5, then getting the king to e6 and be able to infiltrate. I would think that white could potentially make a past h pawn and make trouble with that, but that would also accentuate white's position having holes. So
it doesn't seem like white should lose that.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that white should lose, but maybe there's more danger for white. In any event, picking up a pawn, is almost as much as the exchange. Actually, AlphaZero gave values for the chess pieces in which the rook came a little higher than I expected at 5.6. So this isn't as much of a trade, bishop and pawn, rather than picking up a rook, rather than rook for bishop. But here we go. Okay, pawns are even. So this looks like a fairly drawish position, but black's king is closer to the center. And Wesley So does a really great job of maximizing black's chances. So here it looks like white is the initiative, but the engine does say black is better. So this might be, storing up weaknesses for yourself later. The other thing to note is that Ray Robeson had run a little bit short of time. Okay, so now we traded pawns, and again, ordinarily the outside a pawn would be a little advantage, but black has the center, and black's pawn, pass pawn, promotes activity in the center. And it's getting into the zone of one mistake for white. So white, I guess, is trying to get the a pawn moving. So this, however, is a mistake by black. Although I don't know why rook d7. That doesn't look like a mistake for black. tempted white to play rook d8. Let's see, what is the engine saying white should have done instead?
Maybe f5, probably.
Yeah, let's see. I would be trying to get white's king in, and the engine does say king f1 is the
It makes sense.
is the thing to do. Okay, so this, however, was a simple omission. Okay, you just don't think that black's king is going to come and attack, and also, well, why can't white take on c5? That's what you're thinking, right? I can take on c5, and I'm guarding f2 through the bishop, and I'm going to win, except, oops, this is actually a mating net.
Yeah.
Okay, so, well, it's not a mating net fully. What it is pin to win. So rook b1 check, king h2, and then rook c1. And now I didn't think that could happen when black's rook was sitting on g7, but so yeah, that's what wins chess games. So
Yeah.
what Robeson overlooked and is gets the 30 seconds a little bit too late, and in fact this actually happened. And
Oh golly.
so yes, so this is not enough compensation, unfortunately, and Ray Rosen gave up after that.
Well, showing once again that not all exchanges are created equal.
Yeah, yes,
For sure.
Mm-hmm. So
Well, that's really nice by Wesley.
yeah, it's definitely enterprising play, works even at this level. So any other comments on the U.S. Championship?
Well, today is yesterday was fifth round, sixth round. Remember that we are making this video on Friday, so
Right.
today is actually fifth round. Now, it's very unpredictable that almost like anybody can win against anybody. And I thought that the clear favorites were Caruana, of course, and probably Wesley So. And they have formidable results in this type of tournaments.
Uh-huh.
And women's section is completely unpredictable. There are a lot of very strong youngsters. Irina Krush, I think she's overestimating them, or maybe they are not scared of her. That's a problem because
Well, she doesn't have any draws. Irina has 2 wins and 2 losses.
so everybody's fighting her. And I remember even 3-4 years ago, she would go through the field like a bulldozer, but it's not happening anymore.
Well, Alice Lee is there and Jennifer Yu. I mean, Alice Lee and
Right.
Jennifer Yu were the heroes in the Cairns Cup International Tournament that we covered before.
Mhm.
Um,
And Anna Zatonsha and Nazi Pakitsky is they're both seem to be in reasonable form.
Yeah.
So it's a toss up. And of course, there's Carissa Yip who could get hot and
And this leader now, this Anna, I forgot her name. Sargsyan. She has a very stable, very sound positional game.
yeah.
So she's taking, it appears to me, much less risk than the other younger players. She's very solid, and I'm not going to be surprised if she will win.
Yeah, I meant to look up if she's related to Shant Sargsyan, the grandmaster.
Is she?
But I don't know. I meant to look that up. But anyway, here are the standings of the open section. So ahead of Caruana, Aronyan, and Neiman, with a bunch of people on 2 who are also in it, including Abhimanyu Mishra, who continues to be rock solid. He has a undefeated streak over 70 games now.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's impressive.
But
Absolutely.
which happens to him. I have one more story to tell. The European Team Championship finished, and winners were Ukraine in the open and Poland in the women's, who
And
share a border.
Second in the women's. Ukrainian team was second.
Yeah.
What team was second?
Ukrainian team.
Yes, that's right. Yes, they celebrate that, and old friend Adrian Mikhalchyshin was a coach for that team. So
Yes.
so he's been we all both congratulated him on Facebook. Um, I said something to Yankees Jane. I said that fellow in the upper right is someone I've met before. But I deliberately wrote fellow in Russian and the rest in Ukrainian. I guess he noticed it. But okay. So this was the decisive game. And it's really interesting because White gets what I think of as a dream position attacking in one of the anti-Petrov lines. And yet Black eventually triumphs along the same open files. So this knight c3 is a way to play against the Petrov where you get an open position, but no engagement of pawns. So this can become very drawish. But you do get the ability to castle queenside and launch an attack on the king side. And exactly that happens, much to what would seem to be White's dream pieces. Now, for what happens in the next few moves, I don't think you can go into this as Black unless you are very well prepared. Okay, so bishop g4, and White provokes, and Black says, yes, I'll be your guest, and ruin White's pawn structure at the cost of giving the two bishops and opening files against the king. So to make matters even merrier, White allows Black to win the h-pawns. Right now, White is just trying to soften up Black's position, but Black goes ahead and grabs the pawns. Now here come two wonderful rooks on the open files. Now, the engine says Black is fine, although the engine says that to stay fine, you really should play bishop f8 or maybe g6. But anyway, so this is fine for Black if you know what you're doing. But it's okay, never mind. That's a silly misplaced question mark by chess.com. It goes away. So now g6. So this may be all book. Now, at this moment, White misjudged the position a little bit, but Black sort of throws the misjudgment back to White. So bishop a6, and now h6, and so rook g1 because he had to guard that a pawn, and the rook e6. So anyway, so Black is doing really well in this position, but this now is, so this is a very, very funny juncture here. Black achieves a position without his c pawn that he could have gotten with the c pawn on the board. So the way to play to keep the advantage is to play queen c4 and then provoke White to play b3 and then just put the queen back. And then White has to spend time defending weak squares on the queen side. So instead, Ihor, the hero of this game, played c5. It's also important to note that there is a lump sum of 30 minutes at turn 40, but we have 15 more moves to make before turn 40, and Black is down under 4 minutes. Well, White is 6 minutes. Okay, so the problem is this move is that White could just capture the pawn, and if bishop takes c5, then queen takes h6. Right. His mate. So Black plays bishop g7. All right. So White calmly comes in. Now, what White could have done is the simple and natural bishop d4. And I have no idea why White didn't play that. Anyway,
well, this is where we have always called this playing for the loss.
Yeah. So now h5, and Black's king is reasonably well guarded. Okay. Now White sort of has to give up the dream of a kingside attack, but White is still by no means losing. Pawns, the material is actually equal. So advantage Black, but probably White can defend with best play. But White keeps on playing challenging moves, And bishop takes e3 again is not really a mistake. So now black begins hinting at an attack. Meanwhile, black's king actually is fairly safe because black has a very solid 6th rank. Okay, so now it says that's a mistake, that black should play rook f7. And here again, so now coming right up to turn 40, white is okay, even with the a4 move. Okay, but this queen move is a miscalculation of giving up a pawn to get an attack, and then this check. Wow, what is white miscalculating here? If you look at it, it looks like king takes h7, queen e7 check, king h6, rook h8 mate. All right, so this looks like a crushing move. Black would have to play rook f7 and then would just be at the mercy of white's queen and rook. But black can very bravely play king g5. So this is the rebuffing of white's attack against black's king on the g file. So we're actually going to get an attack along here. And the key point is that if queen e7, then black is perfectly cocooned this way. So there's not going to be any more productive checks for white after queen e3 check and black interposes on f4. So white instead played back because black was threatening rook f1 check and rook a4, winning white's queen. And now black takes over. Well, takes over with a nice, very active king. So at this point, black is winning. And black trades into an endgame. So forces white's queen off. And now, again, even though pawns are even, you can calculate that black is going to make a queen long before white does. And importantly, black has the G pawn in reserve. Otherwise, white could sacrifice the rook and make trouble on the queen side. So at this point, white realized that the count is way behind and resigned. So victory to Ukraine, Slava Ukraini. But
yeah, very interesting game indeed. Well, listen, so very soon we will start this 5th round. So looking forward to it. And we're spending days doing nothing but watching this championship.
Yes,
So
and maybe next week we'll discuss the week's other big news, which is FIDE's blessing to a world championship combining standard blitz, standard rapid, and what they call fast classical, game in 75 minutes to turn 60.
Okay. Glory to FIDE.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And
right.
see you next week, same place, same time. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Mhm.